Following breaking news, Representative Steve Scalise, the third highest ranking member of the House Republican leadership, is in critical condition after a gunman opened fire on a baseball practice field just outside Washington, D.C. 3 other people were also shot. The gunman was mortally wounded in a shootout with Capitol Hill police officers who were part of the congressman's security detail. Within the past hour, the FBI identified the attacker as 66-year-old James Hodgkinson of Belleville, Illinois. He had been in the Alexandria, Virginia area since March, was living actually out of his car. Right now, we're joined by someone who spoke multiple times with the gunman. That would be Bill Ewell, the former mayor of Alexandria, where the shooting happened. Mayor, thanks very much for joining us. And as I mentioned, you spoke with this shooter, Hodgkinson, on several occasions over the past month or so. Describe those conversations.
Wolf, I'm a 20-year member of the local YMCA, and I live in the neighborhood, and I work out at the Y Monday through Fridays between 7:15 to 7:30 I arrive. And more than a month and a half ago, I met this gentleman at the Y. He normally, when I arrived, he was usually be sitting at a table with his coffee and a laptop. But after a couple of days, it wasn't until after a couple of days when folks, members of the Y, would see me sitting, relaxing after my workout, and then they would say, "Hey, Mr. Mayor, how you doing? We love you, we miss you," and so forth. And others would say, "Hey, I have a question, can you help me?" And then a day after that, he then approached me and said, "Hey, are you really the mayor?" And I said, "Yes." So we introduced ourselves to each other, and then from that day forward, after I do my workout, finish my workout rather, around 8:45, I go upstairs, get my coffee, sit down. He usually is at a table next to me, always on his laptop, and then he would only converse with me if he had a question. He wanted to know things like, "Hey, where are good places in Alexandria to go have breakfast? Where's a good place to go have lunch?" And I would tell him. And initially, when I described places in Old Town, he said, "No, we need something in walking distance." So I concluded in my own mind that he didn't have transportation. And then a few days later, he would ask me about job opportunities. He said, "Hey, I'm here just briefly, but I'm looking for a job. You know, anybody hiring?" And I said, "What kind of work?" He said, "Construction." And I said, "Well, I do construction, and what kind of work?" And he said, "I'm a housing inspector." And I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "Let me, go on the city's website, see what we may have, and I'll keep my eyes and ears open for something." And then later on, it was, "Hey, what's going on in the city for the long weekend?" And I said, "Look at the city's website." But through all of these exchanges, I never noticed anything unique about him other than the fact that he was a loner. Obviously, I'm worried about somebody that spends hours at YMCA on their laptop and not working. And so I would even offer and suggest to him, he said, "Hey, I know somebody's hiring." I said, "I'll send you the email link and you make contact with them." But more recently, I noticed in the locker room, while he was in the shower area and I'm getting dressed, that his gym bag was wide open. This was one day last week, and I'm saying to myself, wow, this seems like somebody that, not a typical Y person. You come in with your gym bag and you just have change of clothes for that day. Seemed like all of his personal possessions were in this gym bag, including some books and so forth. And but that was I kept it to myself, never said anything about it. And then, he would every morning at the Y, he would his routine was clockwork, like clockwork. You knew he was going to be sitting at a certain time. He's going to be in his.
Did he ever, excuse me for interrupting you, Mayor, did he ever discuss politics with you?
No, strangely, oddly enough, he never discussed politics with me, but, there was always a lot of political conversation going on because there's a couple of flat screen TVs when you walk into the main entrance of the lobby of the Y. I'm a politician. He knew that, of course. And one of the staffers, 2 staff members there, we would always get and have conversation about the news of the day and so forth. And he would just sit there. Only occasionally would he offer an opinion, but he would never expound on it. He would just say, "I agree," or "I disagree." And that was it, the nature of that, so I really, personally for me, I never got to talk politics with him. And then he would ask me about places to go for happy hour in the area, and I would tell him, go here, there, everywhere. But I concluded, until I learned who he was today, that this was a person that seemed very calm, very no mental health issues or anything like that. He was very respectful and spoke very well, and just a normal person. And as I've said to press all day, if I were to choose between two people, which one of these two persons would have done what happened today, he would not have been on my radar at all, because he did not demonstrate the ability to do what he did.
So you were clearly shocked when you discovered that this guy opened fire on all these Republican members of Congress.
Totally shocked, and I learned later in the day that he had been inquiring about the team. Who was this team playing ball in the wee hours of the early morning at 6 a.m. And of course, if he had asked me, I would have told him it was a congressional baseball team. They have practiced and played here over the past several years. And then I understand he inquired about, well, are they Democrats or Republicans? Well, to me, that wouldn't have mattered. It was just a baseball team. And then obviously he had some reason or rationale for doing what he did, but again, I would have never suspected that he would have done what he did, simply because he didn't demonstrate any of those tendencies to go out and cause harm. I was actually on my way to the Y this morning when I first got text messages, my normal time, and folks were inquiring about, am I okay? And I'm saying, why they're worried about if I'm okay? So I immediately grabbed my iPhone to see, check in on city emergency emails, and learned there was an active shooting incident in the area of the Y. And so I called the Y and I said, hey, I'm on my way there. What's going on? They said, oh, you need to stay away. We're in lockdown. And they said there's a shooting incident going on that has happened outside. So I worked my way anyway to the area of the Y within a block, and I stayed for 2 hours observing what was going down. It wasn't until about noon when I got a text message, before seeing the individual's picture, from one of the staffers at the Y, whom this gentleman had daily routine conversations with in addition to myself, and said, hey, you and I know the shooter. And rather than texting, I called him. I said, hey, what are you talking about? He said, this is the guy that always sits here on his laptop. I said, oh my God, really? I'm stunned. And then just as I said I'm stunned, then I looked at the television and saw his picture flash, and I said, that's the guy. Yep. And most sad, and we should be about the business now of kindness and love, and over hatred. And I'm most unfortunate myself as a politician that this happened, and hopefully this will also get Congress to be a little bit more serious and concerned about gun rights. Or not so much gun rights.
I'm sure there's going to be a discussion of that. Did he ever talk about President Trump?
If he did, not around me. As like always on television, there's always more recently, there's always something about the president this, the president that, and then all the Senate hearings with Comey and Sessions, and so initial reaction from most of us is, hey, we got to move on. We got to really be working to move, do business of the country. The White House needs to stop. President needs to stop tweeting. And he would just simply, sit there, or he would just, comment and say, I agree. He never really, stood up and said, those damn Republicans or this or that. So at least not in front of me. And I spend 2 hours every day at the Y.
Well, it's a very, very suspicious. That Y is right next to that ball field, and obviously they're going to be trying to investigate whether he was staking that out, because that's where the Republican members of Congress would practice in the morning. We got to take another quick break. Mayor Ewell of Alexandria, the former mayor of Alexandria, thanks so much for joining us.
Glad to be here.
All right, thank you very much. We'll take another quick break. More on the breaking news right after this.